to another episode of the Chicks on the Right podcast, where we talk to our friend and sponsor of the show, Zach Abraham from Bulwark Capital Management. Our team found the most interesting Reddit thread, which is where all interesting stuff is, right? On
This
Reddit.
is true. This is true.
About money hoarding, where people who have plenty of money actually do like super, super frugal things, like take extra McDonald's ketchup packets home with them, who wear the same pair of shoes that they've had for 10 years, etc. And this really stuck home for me, particularly because my parents are immigrants from Poland, and they taught me frugality from a very early age. And my mom fits this description to a T. Like, she is the person who saves aluminum foil that she has used. Like, if it didn't get right, like if it didn't get any food on it from baking, then it's a clean piece of foil that she'll use the next time around. And it's not because they can't afford more foil. They do fine. But it is an interesting thing, I think, about immigrants who have had almost nothing. And there's like this sort of innate kind of maybe fear that they don't even recognize that they might have nothing again. Have you run into that with clients?
Oh yeah. And one of the one of the things I tell them, see, in our business, financially you're incentivized. And I'm not saying people do. I mean, I'm sure they do, but financially you're incentivized to keep as much money of the person's in the account, right? So the way we manage an account is we charge a percentage fee on it. And so technically speaking, if we're just looking out for ourselves, we're going to try to tell them not to pull any money out of the account, right?
Right.
Well, I have this conversation with them when I run into it, and I'm like, hey guys, when the guy who gets paid more based on the balance of your account is advising you to spend more money, right? Like,
you probably need to do it.
I can't give you a bigger green light than that, right?
Yeah.
And so, and usually that works, but the other part of it too, you see it. Unfortunately, there's less of those folks alive these days, but you see similar things with people that went through the Great Depression. Right?
I was going to say that people, and like my parents are our parents are boomer parents, and they had parents who went through the Depression.
Right.
So they're not so far removed from that. So they're probably freaked out by that a little bit more. Like, I have an aunt who steals the sweet and lows. You know what I mean? And I'm like, you can't do that.
Dumping them into her purse, And
I come to find out, it's so weird. Like, that's a common thing in a lot of people at that age. And I'm like, so she's not the only one. It's not just my family. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And this, and so that's, that one is a little bit different. That's that's unique. I feel like that's a very, very specific type scenario, but I think I don't think it's that far removed from people that are completely financially irresponsible. And let me explain what I mean. You get in trouble. Now, being overly frugal is far less dangerous than being like overly reckless, right?
Yeah.
But still, quality of life matters. And I cannot tell you people where I've had these people as clients and still do, some of them. I think we've gotten through to the majority of them, but to where regardless of how many millions of dollars they have set aside, they have a poverty mindset, right? And it robs them of joy. And I always, it's interesting doing this job because you get to see really all the sides of money. And I think anytime we place too much importance on money, right? Either by keeping it, so being afraid to spend anything and being a money hoarder, or from being obsessed with what money gets us, right?
Right.
They seem like complete opposites, but they're two branches on the same tree, right? And it's having not a healthy relationship or understanding of money.
Do you think that younger kids are starting to do that more? Like, do you think, or is this something that, because I mean, I have millennials, and then I have a Gen Z. I guess she's a Gen Alpha. I don't know what she is. I don't know. What are you at 15 now? I don't even know what that is. A Gen something. I don't know.
Isn't it Gen Z?
I think it may be Gen Z. Thank you.
Yeah, I think so.
But the kids nowadays, I think, like one of our millennial kids, he is a saver. He is like kind of like your mom, Mock. And so, and I, we're not, I don't know where that comes from. I mean, it's like, it's good to save, but it's like, we're not as good. Like, he's just really overly savvy. And then and I think that our youngest is going to be like that too. So is this like, I wonder if it's like it skips a generation or something, or if there are, like, if some of the younger kids nowadays are becoming more financially responsible, maybe tipping the other way, like if they're not spendy, like maybe Gen X was.
Yeah. So I've seen a lot of that actually. And it's funny because it doesn't seem to fit that generation, but there is a lot of that, like intense saving, right? The big push, this would be more millennials, but that big whole, what is it? The whole FIRE deal, right? Which is, what does it stand for? Retire. It's an acronym. It's FI and then retire early.
Yeah. I know you're talking. Yeah, because they do want to retire early. They do.
Yeah.
They don't want to work anymore. Yeah.
Right.
Well, you know what I mean. They want to. Like, we like working, and I'm fine with working until I'm 70. I just feel like in my brain I'm going to work until I'm probably in my 70s. I just have this in my brain, and there's no way my millennial. They're like, I don't want to do that. That sounds horrible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and part of that will, like, I think part of that comes with age, meaning, they're going to realize, okay, if I'm not working, what am I going to do? And I can only vacation so much, and I can only play so many rounds of golf. And being productive, it matters. But my point is I think this is so symptomatic of I think we have very bad financial health in this country, right? Where just too much importance, either, like I said, hoarding the money or being obsessed with what the money gets you, and being all flash and all show and all this kind of stuff. And all of it boils back down at the end of the day, quality of life and joy, right? That's what's the most important, right? And we as human beings are always going to believe that the reason we're not happy is because of what we don't have. Right. And it just doesn't work that way. It's like my coach used to say, it's that line off of Cool Runnings, right? Maybe I told you guys this, but if you're not enough without it, you'll never be enough with it.
Yeah.
And just having that, money is a tool like anything else. And if you think about it in any other way, you're going to get off track. And the cost, right? So you've got cost. We all know the cost about being financially irresponsible is being broke. Right. The cost of being too money focused and too stringent on spending is unhappiness, right? Because now, you're not a slave to money, but you sort of are.
Yeah.
Right? You're a slave in a different way. You're not paying debt. You're not paying interest expense, but you're paying interest. It's your own quality of life.
Right.
And I'll look at those people and go, guys, what are you waiting for? They're like, oh, we're going to run out of money. I'm like, you haven't even started spending it. It's not possible to run it. Look, we're going to put you in, we're going to take 50% of your portfolio and put it in these US government bonds paying 4.5% to 5%. And you're going to draw down 2.5% of that. So half of that interest, which means no matter what, your account value is still going to go up, right? That is not being irresponsible. It's just not, right? Your money is still growing. You're using it. So it's just not being a slave to money. And I think one of the wonderful things to do that, and this sounds kind of crazy, but one of the wonderful things, and I've seen it happen over and over and over, giving to charity.
Right.
Give money away? Yes. Okay. Why? It will make you more, if you have spending issues, and pay off your debts first, but giving money to charities, especially ones that you believe in and ones that you've vetted, it will make you better at managing your money. I guarantee it. I have never, ever once in my life seen somebody that went broke because they gave too much money to charity. I've never seen that.
Right.
And it doesn't work that way. The other side is you're going to get way more joy and enjoyment out of that than you think you are. Right. The other thing my wife and I talk about all the time is, when you've been blessed financially, there's a lot of, when you're no longer constrained, there's this period of time in your life where you're financially responsible because you don't have a choice, right? Like you don't have the money to buy things you want anyway. And when you have enough money and you're blessed enough to where you're no longer constrained that way, where you got to constrain yourself because you have the wherewithal to buy things, you quickly figure out, I think if you're a well-adjusted person, you quickly figure out that there's no there. The stuff isn't going to make you happy. You're going to
Right.
be the same person with the same issues, right? Again, and it relates to hoarding. If you think that next million is going to make you happy it won't. You're going to feel just as insecure about the 6 million as you did the 5. It will not change. And I think a wonderful way to put money in the right perspective in any life is to start giving some away.
Yeah.
And it sounds again, this is not me preaching from my book, right? All of these things I'm talking about means there's less money in my clients' accounts, so I'm getting paid less on it. But it's still true, right? Like if you want to appreciate money, if you want more joy in your life, go give something away. And I think especially for those people that struggle with that hoarding thing, you know, you want to talk about a way to inject some joy in your life and put money in the right perspective, right? We shouldn't be freaked out all the time. You should, right? It should be looked at as a tool, and we just place too much importance on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that advice. Charity.
Have you had to drop clients because they just absolutely will not take your advice, either when it comes to spending too much or not spending enough?
Yeah, well, so I've never had to do it with a client that doesn't spend enough. I cannot recall a time where I wasn't able to get them to loosen up, because you get to know these people, right? And they become like family. And so you're literally, and when they reach their retirement goals and they can fund the retirement, I say we help them with it. We didn't make the money for them. But, and you're like, hey, you accomplished your goals. You want to see them. I want to hear the stories of the vacation they went on. I want to see the pictures from them taking their kids to their grandkids to Africa. I want to see these things. And you want them to have a wonderful life, right? You want to see it. You want to be a part of it. You want to help them finance it. And so usually they've been able to, like I said, I can't think of a scenario where I wasn't able to get somebody to loosen up a little bit. On the flip side, I've had to fire a couple clients because they were spending too much.
Really?
And the thing that I said was, listen, you're not listening to our guidance. Okay. You are spending too much and too fast. And why does that impact you? And I go, because you're going to seriously screw up your whole financial picture. It most likely is going to happen at the wrong times when markets are down. And inevitably, you're not going to blame you. You're clearly an irresponsible person, right? You're not going to blame you. So what are you going to do? You're going to walk around and say how Bulwark or Zach Abraham screwed you up. And so I'm like, look, I want to get you off my books before because your name, especially in this business, your name and reputation is all you have.
Yeah.
And so part of the thing is, like, you seeing a client, you're like, I know for a fact, you're not going to go tell people you were irresponsible. You're going to probably try to put it on us.
Yeah.
And it's just not worth the bad press. The other side of it is, I don't want to be doing that because it's depressing.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
it sounds like to me maybe this is overgeneralizing, but it sounds a lot like the key is, much like your diet, the key is moderation in everything.
Yeah.
You're spending, you're saving, you shouldn't be doing too much of either thing. Right?
Yeah.
That moderation is key. There's got to be some balance. And that is the kind of advice that people can get from you when they talk to you and they do one of your free consultations. Tell people how they can do that.
Yes. So pretty easy to find us. You go to bulwarkcapitalmanagement.com. We have our free webinars that we're doing. We've got another one coming up, I believe, in 2 weeks. So a little bit longer than 2 weeks. So it's coming up at
May 22nd.
Yeah, May 22nd, Thursday, May 22nd at 3 p.m. All you got to do, 3:30 p.m. Go to our website, bulwarkcapitalmanagement.com, sign up. I think you can also call us directly and set up a consultation. But I think the road shows and the webinars are the easiest way, because it's about a 45-minute deal. We walk you through what we do, how we do it, what makes us different. We are active managers. We explain what that means, right? We're not just sticking you in funds and leaving you in there and telling you to ride the market up and down, right? We can generate positive returns even when the market's down. We're actually having a nice year so far. And just explaining to you what that looks like. And, just that concept. People are like, wait a second, your guys' accounts are up and the market's down. Like, how's that possible? And you go, well, it's very possible. We'll show you how. Right. And so just explaining to people our risk management process. You guys were only down 7% during COVID. How is that possible? Market was down 36%. It's not magic. Here's how we do it. So by the time we're done with that webinar, you'll have a very good idea who we are, how we do it, our method. And then from there, if you want to set up a consultation with me or one of our advisors, we're happy to do that.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you, Zach.
Thanks,
All right. Thank you,
Zach.
ladies. Thanks for having me on again.
Investment advisory services offered through Trek Financial LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions expressed in this program are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security. Any references to performance of securities are thought to be materially accurate, and actual performance may differ. Investments involve risk and are not guaranteed. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Trek 24308.